Okay, so today in this video we are going to discuss concerns that you may be having about going to college in the fall of 2020. Whether this is going to be your first semester in college or whether you're a returning student, a sophomore, junior, senior, fifth year senior, you know who you are. But in this video, I'm going to give you some questions to answer that will help you make a decision on whether or not going to school in the fall of 2020 is right for you. Okay, before we really get into the details, let me introduce myself. My name is Micah Hebel, and for the past 10 years, I've been a professor at 2 different universities, and before that, I went to college right out of high school, quit for a few years, moved states, went to a private school, got married, moved to another state, had a child, went to a big public institution for a few years while working a full-time job, graduated there, and then moved to another state for graduate school, had a few more kids during that time, and ever since then I've been teaching, and so I have quite a few years of experience in and around the college life, and so I hope to bring some of that to you in this video. So the first question I want you to be thinking about is this: does the career that you want to pursue require you to have a college education? If yes, then considering going to school this fall is something that you need to seriously be thinking about. If not, then why would you consider going to school right now during a time where it's uncertain what it's going to look like? In a future video, I'm going to be talking about whether or not to go to college in general, but this video is going to be focusing on should you choose to go to college in the fall of 2020. And the reason that I'm thinking about these questions is many of you may have just finished up a semester where everything was online for the first time. Everything was totally new, and maybe it was okay for you, maybe you hated it, maybe you loved it. But for some of you, you may be coming into your very first semester of college, and you're trying to decide, do I want to start my college life, my college career, going into the unknown? College is already you're already going into the unknown when you go to college to begin with. But now more than ever, because of the uncertainty of whether or not you'll be in quarantine, whether or not you'll be doing classes online or face-to-face. So it's important for you to think through some of these ideas. So the first question again is, does the career you want to have require you to have a college education? If not, then there's no reason for you to jump into college this semester. Start looking for entry-level opportunities that will get you on the track you want to be in. But if the career that you want to pursue does require a college education, then there are a few more questions that you need to answer. Another thing you really want to think about is, where will you be staying during this time? Will you be living at home? And if so, is that going to be a good environment for you to take online classes in? Some of you, it'll be great. You're used to being at home. You did a lot of work at high school at home, or maybe a previous year in college. Is that going to be a good environment for you to get school done? If not, if housing on campus is closed, maybe you might want to choose to wait another semester before you go to school. So consider where you will be staying, and of course, if classes open up as normal, then you always have the option of living on campus, which is a great environment to get school done. So if campuses are open as usual, most likely you'll be staying on campus, whether it's in dorms or in apartments, and I highly recommend that to anybody who's going to college, especially in the first couple years. Live on campus so you can get involved in the communities that are available to you. You're going to feel so much more at home no matter what school you're going to, whether it's a small private school or a large state school. If you live on campus, you're going to have more opportunities to get plugged in and connected to the communities that are available to you. However, if we think about going online and being at home and in quarantine for another school semester, most of you are going to be back at home. and trying to figure out how to stay connected in that environment. So that's another factor that you want to take into consideration. Alright, go ahead and push that like button and subscribe before we go on to the next point. So the second question that I think you should be considering is, do I have the right technology to do school online if that's the way that it turns out? So I know many of you may be watching this from your cell phones, some of you from a laptop, but if you are in a place where you're unsure whether or not you're going to have the right technology to keep up with online college, that's something that you should really consider before jumping into this next coming semester. So one thing that I think is really crucial for you to have in order to be successful in online education is a laptop or a tablet that has a reliable video camera and a microphone. So you may be in a class that meets synchronously, meaning you meet at the same time online, your professor and other students are there at the same time online in something like Zoom. So if you're meeting synchronously, then you need to have a reliable webcam and microphone so that you can participate in those class discussions. You also need to have a reliable internet connection. So if you don't have some part of that combination, online education is going to be difficult for you. Now I know there are opportunities out there. Schools are opening up their parking lots to allow people to access Wi-Fi. So if we're still in this situation in the fall, then definitely be looking in your local areas for internet options that are free and available to you that you can go and use reliably. But you still need to have that device, preferably a laptop or a tablet with a keyboard that allows you to hook up to the webcam, speak through the microphone, and engage in that synchronous online environment. So the other reason that I really think a laptop or a tablet with a keyboard is ideal is most likely you're going to be taking classes that require you to type or write essays or papers or fill in worksheets, so you need to have something that makes your work go quicker. Now I've seen students type 5-page essays on their cell phone and that blows my mind. But how much faster would it be if you had a keyboard and you could actually type it out, in a sane manner of typing an essay? So if you have a device like that, then you're probably good to go and set, at least as far as technology is concerned, for being successful in an online education environment. Now, just because you have the technology doesn't mean you're going to be successful in online education. Being remote or doing college from home is very different than if you were on campus, living in the dorms, living close to campus, walking into campus every day, showing up to class, seeing your friends, meeting the professors. When you're on campus and you're plugged into a community and you're showing up every day for class, you have a support system in place that you see regularly and you can go to for encouragement. And when you're doing class online, it's not the same. You'll still have opportunities to, communicate with people and to create community, but if you're used to showing up to class every day and having that set schedule, having that those people that are going to be there and remind you and encourage you to show up at different places, being at home by yourself or with your family or with a roommate is not the same. I know many students who have struggled switching from face-to-face to online, keeping up with their regular everyday routines, remembering that they actually do have to wake up, show up online to be in class. And so if that's going to be a struggle for you, that's definitely something that you want to consider before jumping into next fall.
Without you, I would be nothing. No air would flow through my lungs. Without you, I'd be forgotten. Nobody's singing my song.
So I know this is a difficult decision Do you want to spend another semester, or maybe your first semester, in an environment that's not the typical college experience? That's an important question. But another question is, do you really want to delay your career one semester just because it's different than it used to be? Just because an experience is different than what you were expecting doesn't mean it's wrong for you. Another thing to consider is, how do you think you would do in online classes? Face-to-face classes are not the same as online classes, and depending on how the class is structured, that could be good or bad for you. I know many students prefer face-to-face classes over online classes. However, there are many students who find that they exceed their expectations in an online setting. Just because you may find yourself in an online classroom environment doesn't mean you won't succeed. It just means you need to develop a new set of skills to help you succeed, which is never a bad thing.
You're my darling, 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 darling. You're making my world.
So far, I focused on the things that you should be thinking about if we do go remote education in the fall. Now, here is another thing that you should be considering before you make a decision. This isn't going to last forever. We are not going to be doing remote education for the rest of our lives. Colleges are doing everything they can to get back to face-to-face education. That's the way the majority of the population prefers it. And so, with all of the efforts that are being made to make things safe, get us back to a place where it's healthy and reasonable to be around each other again, that's eventually going to be a reality. And so one thing you need to consider is it worth avoiding a short-term difficult season for one semester just because you're not sure if it's going to be right for you? Alright, so the last point that I want to talk about with you today is, how quickly do you want to get through with college? If your goal is to get through college in as quick amount of time as possible, then I would highly suggest not to worry too much about what school's going to look like next fall, and just to get going. Whether school is online or face-to-face, you'll be moving forward, building the progression that you want to get to in order to graduate, get the job you want to have, find that internship, make those connections, and move on with your ultimate goals in life. So this experience of online education could actually give you more skills to use in the work field than if we didn't have this experience. So, something to consider before you decide whether or not to jump into school this fall. Alright, so I think that's it for this video. I hope you got some value out of the things that I was talking about in this video. If you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. In some of my upcoming videos, I'm going to talk more about college-related questions. One video that I'm definitely going to be coming out with soon is college right for you? And that has nothing to do with quarantine or online or face-to-face. It's just discussing college in general and whether or not that's the place for you. So be looking forward to that. And if you have any other ideas that you'd like me to talk about in these videos, please let me know, and I will see you in the next one.